Space nerds, we've got ships to talk about. The May monthly report is here, and from the Gatac Railen to the ironclad problems to, I don't know, unknown ships. The Liberator, apparently. We've got a lot of ship news to go over, and we've got our ship tracking ship sheet here to update. So, if you'll join me for the next 20 minutes or so, let's look at what's coming up in Star Citizen ships this summer. So, DefenseCon saw many of the ship's team's recent projects flyable in the PU, including the Tiburon, the Hammerhead Gold Standard, the M80, the Starlight, the Pitbull, the Ironclad, the Assault, and the Command Module, which they do reference as a separate ship. So that's 8 of the ships that we've been tracking released. The team also delivered the Vandal Mauler as part of the tactical strike groups alongside numerous flight blades and weapon kits. We're not going to count that one, but it was a release. Elsewhere, the Gatac Railen passed its gray box review before progressing into Lot 0 with a combined Lot 0 and Final Gate review scheduled for early June. I bet. Dude, they're really cutting it close with this one. That makes me nervous. Let's look at the process this ship has gone through, because it's weird. So, in November, pre-production work began, I think. Or production began. Pre-production began in the previous June, so I'm going to actually list that down just so we have it on the record. In June of 2025, pre-production work began. In November, production work began. In January, it got to white box with a gate review in February. It had its gate review in February, planning for release in Alien Week. At this point was like the surprise. When it was in white box in January, almost most folks were thinking this is looking like it might be delayed. So it usually takes longer than that to get from white box to complete. But in March, they had a gate review at the end of March for the gray box, I'm guessing. Brought the ship to the later pipeline standards to help set the tone for larger Gatac-style spaces. And then in April, the Railen moved towards its gray box review. So they must have planned the gate review for the end of March, didn't make it, so it made its gray box review in April. And now, this newest update is saying the Gatac Railen hit its gray box review May. So that means it's currently going through a review right now. And that's sketchy, because this is a really important ship. Let me show you what exactly is included in this ship, because it's pretty crazy.
Discovering the next big cool thing in technology, and that's part of why they immediately jumped on the opportunity to make a ship that would be friendly to both Xi'an and humans.
So the big key about this is that this is actually the first really significant industrial ship from Aliens we're getting. And in my opinion, it should feel different when it's doing industrial things. It shouldn't just be looking different like an alien ship. There needs to be a difference in the flow of cargo hauling and logistics for a ship like this. And it does have partially external cargo storage, so that will probably affect it, speeding up the transfer.
External. You can see it on the back of the ship. Part visual choice, part gameplay choice. They are fixed containers on the rear of the ship, and the cargo goes inside them. So having it external allows us to keep the internals of the ship all nice and compact, but also does give a toss-up in choice between, do I pick a ship with lesser cargo but is more protected, or do I go for this, which can carry more in one run, but has the risk of, if I get jumped on in transit, my cargo is more at risk.
And in the video I've been working on for this, I actually have been doing some research on how efficient this ship is in terms of storage and cargo. Let me show you something that I put together for the video. These are two tables I made. First, this is a cargo efficiency table, which shows the footprint in terms of area of the ship, the SCU that it's at least listed to be able to take, and how it compares. So I picked most of the ships that fall in the same kind of like category in terms of SCU, and also a ship that kind of fell in the same size range. The big thing about this ship is it has a huge volume. It has more volume than almost any other ship I can find at the same sort of area, but the area is small, which is what really matters in Star Citizen, because everything is sized by hangar size, right? So you get this Railen that has a fairly small amount of space being used, but a super high amount of capacity, which puts it up with the Hull B. It can protect its cargo a little better than the Hull B because it has the bespoke. Is it 620? Oh, I thought it was 640. Okay, I gotta update that. It has a little bit of a bespoke cargo situation, so it's, you know, it not necessarily fully at risk of being shot at like on the Hull B, but more protected, still at more risk than something like a Caterpillar, but it's more efficient. The real kicker though is this hangar size table, which shows what kind of hangars you can get into and what kind of cargo you can carry with said ship in which hangar. And you can see the Railen, because most of its size is vertical instead of horizontal, it can fit into a medium hangar, but it can still carry so much cargo compared to something else in a medium hangar like a Starlancer Max. So there is a very, very good advantage that we could have with this ship, but I still want to be convinced that the actual differences in the ship are, you know, make you feel like you're on an alien ship versus a human ship. This, I think, this picture looks like it's just one of these thrusters. It's got some really weird thrusters in the back there.
That's something we always try and do with our ships, is not have one ship that is superior in every single way to another ship that's equal to it. We want there to be trade-offs.
Even from, you know, trying to get into this ship, it's going to be a unique experience. So
this is the part where I'm worried that it gets delivered and not all the parts are working. There's so many animations in this ship, it's crazy.
You know, essentially you've got a grav-left platform that's going to fly through the air, come and greet you, you get on it, click a button, takes you up to the entrance of the ship through the airlock. That's where you first get your experience of the Xi'an architecture within this ship. When you choose to get on the lift to go up to habitation, you know, you've got a console that's made out of like 50 different pieces in it, and it all builds itself into position, and you click the button, get on your elevator, which isn't the standard elevator either. At the moment it's at an angle, so you have a very different experience of like transitioning up through the floors, and the floors will also transform to sort of enable you to get through easily. So then when you're in the habitation section, you've got access to beds and lockers. You can go left and right to the turrets and really escape nice. Pods. And then you've got the dual race kitchen and bathroom section, and then sort of like a communal eating area. And then from there up, basically it takes you into a more technical section. So you can either go to a docking, which is at the rear of the ship, and then you've also got a good portion of components in like the sort of quite technically themed area of the ship, and then you transition through that.
All right, I'm not going to spoil the rest of my video coming out later this week, but I will show you one last shot. This is a really early shot of the previs that they wanted for Xi'an technology back in like 2017. And I think this is like, it really goes to show just how good they've been at keeping consistent with the things that they really want to get in the game. A lot of this stuff has shifted over time. Gameplay stuff, definitely. But in terms of like the vibes that they want to hit with stuff, look at how close they got to this original thing they wanted to do with Xi'an architecture compared to what they're showing us for the Railen. Particularly this next shot with the computer, I think looks a lot like what they were showing us. I also think this is probably going to be a lot of Squadron 42. Because we do have to go on board a Xi'an ship, I think. Like an ancient Xi'an ship. Look at that PC Master Race. It's beautiful. So, they've got a lot of cool ideas for these designs, which is, I mean, you know, it's a pretty game. At least we get that. But this is the Railen. This is the first truly significant alien ship being added to the game. Sorry, Banu Merchantman, you took too long. And I'm interested in seeing how they try to just make industrial alien stuff feel different from industrial human stuff. Significant progress was also made on a related yet unannounced ship. We know this is going to be a Gatac snub, I think it sounded like, from what Jared was kind of hinting at. And we do have already a theory about which one it is based on previous monthly reports. See what we said here. Some of the team began laying the groundwork for a second new vehicle in March. Oh, this must have been in February. The UK team's final unannounced ship progressed towards its white box review. This has turned out to be quite complex in terms of animations in the States, but the end result will be worth it. See, I think I thought this might have been the Gatac ship just because of the animations in the States. But we're also hearing that the Kruger ship is gonna be a little bit different. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and assume this is the Stingray and leave this to update a little bit later, which means we've got another unannounced ship that is the Gatac. It's not gonna be this one with the hero rooms, right? Let's just confirm what this is. So this is from an OEM that hasn't been worked on in a while. Upcoming ship at its white box review. Team working on unique hero rooms. So this is wrong, because this is definitely the M80. It was the Origin ship, but the Origin ship, it's not going to have hero rooms since there weren't multiple rooms. So that's something else. So I'm going to take all of this and we're going to throw this in the M80 section. Now this ship is done. We screwed up with this one. I don't think I'm going to be able to find out what the unannounced ship was, because we got mixed notes here. NA team is definitely not going to be working on this. This one, talking about custom enter and exits, passed its white box in May, continued through white box with more devs joining. To be honest, let's just say this is the Railen snub. I don't feel like unannounced ships just piss me off. I'm hoping for a nice clean reset soon so we can get back to repopulating the unannounced ship section. They're going to go ahead and say this is significant progress was made on yet to be released. It's got to be like Lot 0 at this point with an expected release of, I don't know, 18th. All right, continuing on. 4 other upcoming vehicles continued development. I hate unannounced ships. The first received custom mocap for its enter and exit animations, creating unique challenges due to its scale before its gray box review at the end of the month. Wasn't that just on one of these? Okay, well, it makes sense that the custom mocap is being done on a ship that already has mocap being done, but it also doesn't make sense because they just talked about the Railen up here. So that would have to be something different. Production on the second kicked off with a small team starting work towards the gray box planned for the middle of June. So this one, at least I know, is a new ship. Unannounced ship. I'm going to mark it as UK so we could be more sure of it. For now, it's got low confidence. Just kicked off, so we'll say white box. New model. Don't know what it is yet. Have no expected release. But the first mention is June 4th. 3rd, sorry. And we'll mark this as our May 2026 update. Okay. So that's a new ship on the list. The third continued down the pipeline, while the fourth saw the UK team collaborating with their North American counterparts to ensure the art direction aligns with the brand's other new releases. That doesn't give us much. The third continued down the pipeline. Are you the third? I'm just going to say that this is the third. I don't know what to do with this ship anymore. This one we can kind of pretend is this ship, whatever. Fine, why not? Last update we'll put as June 3rd. First mention we'll keep as January 21st. I don't think it's going to be Lot 0 at this point, but an expected release is looking like a August time-ish. How likely is it that one of these will be the Basher? Oh, that's right. The Basher, yeah. Production on the second vehicle kicked off. Did I mark that down? That was this one, right? Yeah. Third continued in the pipeline. The fourth saw the UK team collaborating with their North American team. Brands other releases. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to leave this as UK plus US. Well, plus NA. Just as a way to identify this one. Put it at low confidence. I think they said it kicked collaborating art direction. I'm betting this is in white box, if not pre-production. We'll say it's a new model. We don't know a role, but we know the first mention is the first note on this ship, so we'll be tracking this one pretty closely over the next couple months. Got it on the profile. We'll see where it goes. With resources freed up following DefenseCon pre-production picked up for the Anvil Liberator. With the state of White Box scheduled for the start of White Box, scheduled for the end of the month. As part of this, an update was made to the interior to allow for quicker entry and exit to the landing pads. This is a big one. People are pretty excited for the Liberator. We haven't gotten to talk about the Liberator in a while. If we scroll all the way down here, the last update we had on it was for pre-production. It doesn't even say when that was. October 25th. Y'all want to see what the Liberator looks like? It's not a super common ship, so it's not as well known.
So we'll move from the 400i to something a bit bigger and something entirely new, which is the Anvil Liberator, which is Anvil's latest design spaceship, which is purely for transporting ships. So we wanted to do something properly and sort of provide that entry-level spaceship for that career. If you want to be a ship hauler, then this is the ship for you. It provides that good foundational base for it.
It's a fairly regular sort of process on this one. As Jared and I have chatted before, you know, these ships are often described as berths, you know, easy berths, hard berths, difficult berths. I think this one was a fast berth. It's been a while since we worked on some Anvil stuff, so in terms of the lineup, you know, we have the Ballista, the Terrapin, the Hurricane. The Valkyrie, you know, is probably more sort of, you know, it's one of those larger ships. Then we've got the Carrack.
Yeah.
So a lot of work has already been done for those ships, and we've got, you know, we've got the modular kits. So in terms of a concept process, theoretically, it's smoother sailing. And in terms of, you know, our process again, you know, it's that investigation, and you know, each manufacturer has sort of a loose set of rules. I'll say it's loose because there's always space for us to sort of slightly veer and slightly tweak the manufacturer.
Well, I think, like you were saying earlier, like manufacturers change with time.
Whatever you do, make it cool, but it has to fit within these bounds.
Yeah, it was quite strict on the landing pad size, but you need to fit a number of ships in it, but also make sure that it really kind of stayed within its. Otherwise, John will give us big slap wrists.
I'll come after.
Come on, you know Star Citizen players aren't going to stick to the actual landing pad.
Yeah.
Because on that image there, you can see there's the red box, which is the maximum bounds that the ship can be. If you go outside that, it literally won't fit through the hangar doors and ceiling. So obviously it has to be in there, and that's a max, not a goal to hit, because we've ended up in the past with ships that have a centimetre or two's clearance right at the edge.
The correlation between the two and the sort of influence, but it, you know, it also makes sense, right?
It's a very
functionality.
I'd say it's a very functional ship, isn't it? So, and it feels like say, obviously, the real life version has been made for that function, and this kind of follows suit.
Yeah, definitely. And so, you know, we'll basically be looking at some of our exterior options, and again, it's always, you know, it's quite difficult when you have something like clean
some
the
concepts.
Stuff. It's not, you know, it's a nice design,
variants
but
that they were looking at.
It doesn't really speak of Anvil to me. Yeah. I mean, but you know, it's cool. I like it. There's some interesting
Certainly
things.
very hovercrafty.
Yeah. I think just too simple for
too wedgy.
Yeah. This one was asymmetrical version. You know, we've got that massive tank on the side. What it does, I'm not quite sure at this point, but it's, you know, it's just visual exploration. We've got the asymmetrical wings. Again, you know, sort of interesting stuff. At this point, we're starting to push into like Terrapin territory. So we've got the sort of essentially like the bridge, and it's kind of like got a cowl. It's like a sort of, you know, it's kind of like the little turtle head from the Terrapin, and sort of mixing and matching. And so, you know, it's kind of interesting. Again, you know, we're doing these things rapidly, so, you know.
Has some pros and cons design-wise as well, because obviously we have the XY metric, but you also have the Z, so a lot of our hangar metrics are quite tall.
Looks Anvil.
So The problem with this one was it was just to the height of the ship. The actual height it would have needed to be would have been double that. So then you end up with this really tall gangly thing because we've also shortened it by a third. So.
And the layout that they ended up with here in the interior.
I want. Like, how do I get from A to B? I don't want to do A to G to H to get to B.
Give you a sense of the scale of the ship.
So as we look at these interiors, we just sort of looked at sort of different flow, basically, different ideas. So it feels quite good, and we sort of worked on, again, just flow. So if you're in the garage, you can easily get from the garage into the living quarters. The elevators just run the full height. There's one for crew, one for passengers. So if you're under the ship, you can just easily get up and down. And so the whole process is a lot more streamlined. And there's even if you're in those top rooms, and like it's
one passengers. Just
definitely
milling around.
And then moving on to, you can see here the garage space and where the cargo is stored. So originally the cargo was going to essentially take up one of the garage spaces.
It was going to be a compromise choice that players could make of that the cargo is stacked down, either down the middle of the lower garage or across like one of the pads. So you could choose that's going to be, 50, 100 little stops, whereas you cram it in one of these and send it on its way. It's going to be a much better experience for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think this is going to be a fun one to kind of get onto.
Yeah, I think your team's going to like that.
That's pretty much it for the Anvil Liberator.
The ship is a ship transporting ship. Like, it's a pocket carrier. It was made for a game where you could not reliably send your small ships through a jump point and know that you would have somewhere else on the other side to go land. This is the kind of ship where if you're going into Pyro, the reputation you have means you're not going to be able to resupply anywhere, so you need a carrier ship to bring you and you and your friends and their ships. But you're not necessarily investing in a whole freaking Idris. You just want to transport it to a new home base location. So it'll be interesting to see how this fits into a game where fuel is it's still very easy to come by. Fuel ranges have been increased. The distances of these systems have been decreased. It all feels like a game that's been much more catered towards people who don't want to play this kind of style of game. So I'm interested in seeing how they have this fit into the game and where they're going to balance things to make it so that the Liberator makes sense. This is one of those ships people thought they were going to try and launch specifically for Pyro, because I actually wonder if they said that here. Because it was around the time they were talking about Pyro that they mentioned. Yeah, it's like 1 minute away from where we were.
Idris. So the Liberator is, unless you suddenly got an Idris to carry things with, this is what you're going to see going through these wide and long star systems. Like Pyro is incredibly large compared to Stanton, and Stanton's already quite big to go from one side to the other. So we really need these ships to help you lug all your stuff from point A to point B, because if you do it in your Hornet, that's going to be 50, 100 little stops, whereas you cram it in one of these and send it on its way. It's going to be a much better experience for everyone.
Yeah.
So they have to actually sell that, right? These are intended shortcomings of ships that they need to impart, but I could tell you, as soon as they start doing that, people are going to be pretty pissed that their ship can't fly all the way across system. So it's just another one of these times where CIG wants to make the game a certain design. They need to push those changes into a game that already exists. And they're probably hesitating because they don't want people to have backlash about it. But they've added refueling. The Liberator seems like it's on the way. Capital Ship Services can now restock or refuel ships. I think they're just getting all of these things out of the way before they start to limit us a lot more on our fuel consumption and make this kind of stuff more useful. That's my hopium. I got my fingers crossed for it, but we'll see. The ship is currently in pre-production and it's still continuing on. Hopefully we see it making progress next month into something a little more significant. Lastly, on the UK side, the RSI Galaxy continued through white box as further revisions were made, to the layout around the central docking collar, habs, bridge, and lift area to ensure clear flow from any direction. Solid. We have the Galaxy on here somewhere. I think it's been a little while since we've updated it. Here we are. So we had the Galaxy in pre-production back in March/December. Gonna add the 2026 update here. And then let's put this down in the notes section so it's a little easier to tell what's going on. So this would be November, December. Entered pre-production. Went over the original layout, made adjustments, both for the flow and to use the asset library. This involved adjusting the front half of the lower deck to be less isolated and prevented it from leading to the dead end. Other areas were also adjusted to current metrics using suitable assets from other RSI ships. That was our last update. That was in March. So we jump now to May, and our most recent update is June 3rd, where they are working through white box. So we went from pre-production to white box. Hopefully we see gray box by the end of the summer, because this one is also trying to release by November. And let me show you, this one is an impressive one. Ship itself is 100 meters long, so this is about hammerhead size, 60 meters wide, 20 meters in height. Not a bad size. This is like the perfect size for a 4 to 5 person crew to go around and do all the stuff you want to do. But it gets saved by the fact that it's modular, and you can basically do a whole bunch of different stuff with this. It won't be the best at any one thing, but it's going to jack all your trades
base for the different modules you might need. And directly connecting to the module section, there's the hangar.
So the 3 modules that are available are a cargo module, which increases the cargo capacity of the ship significantly.
There's a refinery module, which it's got a sweep mechanism with the underneath where the cargo ramp opens, and we've got the saddlebag.
This could be an excuse for them to get refining working this year.
Work really well with something like a prospector.
And then the last one is a medical module.
The medical module is split into 2 halves. So in the very center, there's a lift that'll bring you up. So if there's anyone injured in a vehicle, you can get them straight into the actual medical wings. Alternatively, you can use the hangar at the back to fly someone in and unload them into the actual Galaxy. Inside the actual medical wing, you have an assortment of different tiered med beds for whatever injury the person might have sustained. Although it's been a while since we've showed off a modular ship or released any new ships that were modular.
Yeah, and they've got some concept art here. I'm just going to give you guys a look at it. I'm not going to go through all the details of this. It is a medium to large modular ship from RSI that includes like a hangar. It includes the refinery, as they said. It includes a space for like more work to be done. It's
that has different sections of the middle of the ship that can be changed out to support significant and real gameplay loops.
It is.
But it was designed quite a bit ago, 2020, I think, 2022. So some stuff will undoubtedly change here. They tried to change this from being, they kind of like talked about a base building module for this after this video, and then tried to not do that, and then had to then go back and say they were doing it. So the release of this one will probably be a little bit controversial, but it's definitely a celebrated one. It's a good looking ship. I think a lot of people are waiting for it. The difference between a modular variant and shared chassis, a modular ship basically can do different things. You can completely change out a part of the ship. A variant is gonna use like the same skins. Does it use the same skins? Honestly, I don't even know if they use the same skins for variants. But a variant is generally the same ship with like a different interior or function. So the Cutlass and the Cutlass Red, or the Avenger and the Avenger Stalker. Shared chassis is this new thing that they're doing where they make a variant, but they're just making variants of old ships and making new ships out of them that are needed because they're gold passing the old ships, and they're using the same chassis, but they're not allowing anything to transfer across. So it's a weird one. Anyways, here are the concept art looks at this ship, just so you guys get a good eye candy
aspects of the game and not limit themselves to one individual part, who one day might decide that them and all their friends are going to go out and do a load of mining and refining, making lots of money from gathering resources. But then the next day might decide that they want to do some cargo hauling across the verse, so they go from one system to another, transporting huge amounts of goods. The next day, they might decide that them and their friends want to have a battle, so they need someone to be able to heal people. It's a ship that allows them to experience the most of the game without limiting themselves.
The RSI Galaxy is the newest concept ship making its debut at this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And you'll get your chance to learn even more about it during RSI Day this Saturday, November 26th. But the Galaxy...
I think that RSI Day was where they talked about the base building stuff. You can see more about that in the CitizenCon presentation that same year. They kind of showed it there, but that was not much else besides that. So that is the Liberator. That's a big one. The Galaxy, also a big one. These are two big ones to look at. Very excited to hear they're coming along. As mentioned above, though, the North American team has progressed with an unannounced ship which passed its gray box gate review with flying colors. Following this, the Lot 0 phase begins, with the ship coming together following a preliminary lighting pass. So let's go back to our ship tracking sheet. We only have one unannounced ship listed under the North American team. Let's see what we have here. If we put this in as the May update, does it follow the rest of it? Let's see. All right, so the ship has a variance. Progressed through white box phase. Last month saw variance blocked out to ensure there are no surprises. In February, it passed its white box review with the team talking feedback. In March, an unannounced ship continued through gray box minor adjustments in North America. The ship team continued to move on an unannounced vehicle towards its gray box gate review in early May. Okay, I think that's unrelated, so I'm going to delete that part and add this. Ship team continued to move unannounced vehicle towards its gray box review. Okay, so in March, they were focusing on getting it. No, never mind. This looks like this was the May review. So this should be deleted from here. This is probably what we were seeing in March. It continued through gray box, yeah. They were working on aid and traversal in the rear half of the ship. And then in April, it continued to move through gray box towards its early review in May. And then now this is our most recent update. Team progressed with an unannounced ship which passed its gray box review with flying colors. So that matches up. We actually have a progression on this ship from the North American team that's matching up pretty closely. We might actually be right with this one. They said, following this, the Lot 0 phase began with the ship coming together following a preliminary lighting test. So let's move it from gray box to Lot 0 and update its last mention to June 3rd. It's looking good, but we still have no idea what this thing is meant for, or what like size it would be, or anything. I just have nothing. It might be a medium ship. I'm gonna put it as medium and large because I don't know. They haven't really given us anything else to indicate what it might be used for. So we'll just stick to a size class since it does. We know it has a rear half. It's got traversal that has to happen back there, so it must be some kind of size. And then continuing on, finally, the Drake Kraken continued through its gray box phase with further changes to the hero rooms to utilize more of the Drake kit used in the Ironclad. This will save both production time and increase the optimization of this huge ship, which has been working through pre-production since July. Man, so this ship has already been in the works for a whole year almost, and it will be in the works for another year before it releases at Invictus next year. DefenseCon, probably, which they've already confirmed to us. This is our selection of ships currently being worked on, folks. We've got 4 unannounced ships in the UK, 5 unannounced ships in the UK, 1 in North America, and, well, 4 in the UK, 1 in North America, and 1 that's being collaborated on between the 2. Elsewhere for named ships, we have the Drake Kraken being worked on, the Anvil Liberator being worked on, and the RSI Galaxy being worked on. Besides that, we have not gotten, I'm going to put last update here as that same day. Pretty clear, they just finished a big, like, a big window, a big sprint of ships for DefenseCon. That was a big moment for them this year, so now they are back to kind of slowing things down. We got 2 ships coming this month, probably 1 or 2 ships next month, but in general, there's not much in the pipeline with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ships being listed. Oh, and the Railen. But here you go. This is the current situation with ship tracking. If you're watching this after the fact, you can access this whole spreadsheet on my website, spacetomato.gaming.com/ship tracking. And if you'd like to join us live for this every week, we touch on this as new news comes out about ships. So cheers, y'all. Thanks for joining me for it live. Appreciate you.